So how are you today, Danielle?
I'm good today, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. You got to pick up your family today?
I did. My mom and my little brother came in from Oregon.
Oregon, from Astoria.
From Astoria, Oregon.
From Astoria, Oregon. And that's where you're from?
That's where I'm from. I lived there for 26 years.
26 years.
26 years.
And what's your sobriety date?
4/2/23.
4/2/23. So you are right around 16 months sober.
16 months on the 2nd.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I guess my first question would be, what were you doing what were you doing 17 months ago?
What was I doing 17 months ago? I was struggling with finding who I am as a person, who I wanted to be, what I could be, who I could be, and not knowing how to get there.
Were you out of control? What were you doing?
It was insane. I was using and addicted to fentanyl every single day. I was living with my best friend, and her and I hated each other. I barely talked to my mom. I lost my job. Didn't have any money. I was selling all of anything that I could in my house in order to get money. I was miserable. I was lonely.
You were out of control.
I was out of control.
Your life was unmanageable.
Absolutely.
Fast forward 17 months later, today, what does your life look like right now?
Oh my God, everything about my life in every single aspect is completely different. And the way that I live life today and the life that I live today is something that I never thought I could achieve or thought that was even possible for myself. My life is beautiful.
Relationships are beautiful.
Oh my God, I have relationships with my entire family. I have relationships with friends. I have a relationship with myself. I have an amazing job that I'm beyond grateful for every single day.
What does honesty look like today versus 17 months ago?
Honesty is something that I didn't have 17 months ago. I knew how to be honest, but I didn't care to. I enjoyed keeping secrets. I liked living secretly, but today I feel like I don't hold anything back.
So we always talk about being a slave to our secrets. 17 months ago, you were living in that chaotic world. Secrets, nothing but stress and chaos on your shoulders, shame, guilt. And that's not the first time. Your story kind of started years prior to that in Oregon. So why don't we jump back there and kind of start where it kind of all started?
Right. So like I said earlier, I lived in Astoria, Oregon for 26 years. I was born and raised there with my mom and my little brother, and went to high school there, middle school, graduated high school, did the typical high school thing, drugs, alcohol, whatever. I started doing hard drugs when I had graduated high school when I was about 19, 20 years old. I got into a really bad relationship that lasted about 6 years that was filled with drugs and alcohol. And
did that relationship start in high school?
That relationship kind of started in high school, and then we had split, and then it reconnected when he was doing drugs and I was doing drugs.
So things got out of control. Tell me one story after looking back, reflecting. Give me a short story of how chaotic it was.
Oh my God, there's so many. I'll give a couple in
Okay,
short.
yeah.
Okay. So while I was in that chaotic, abusive relationship for so many years, I had to sell drugs in order to make money for myself and pay rent. And I was always somewhat kind of good at holding a job. And if I didn't have a job, I was always kind of able to get one. Mm-hmm. I was a preschool teacher. I worked at 2 preschools, and unfortunately, I ended up robbing them. I don't even know what a preschool would offer me or the things that they had in their building would provide anything for me, but whatever they had, I needed it apparently. Did that. I stole from everybody. I would take and lie, and I got myself into some really bad situations to where when I didn't have money or drugs, but the people that did, I would tend to be in a relationship with them. And before I came to Fresno, I would drive every single day, and I would tell my mom I'm going to go bring my sponsor, and she needed a ride somewhere. And every single day I would be going to my drug dealer's house, who I was potentially, quote unquote, I was dating him. And for about 6 months prior of coming to Fresno, I was sexually abused by him for 6 months straight. And I continued to go over there because I needed what he had. Like, I didn't have an option. And so my addiction takes me to like the lowest of lows. Like, I don't care about myself, who I am, what I have to do. No matter what it is, I'll probably do it.
You will let the disease completely take over. In this case, the addiction just run your life.
Right. And it takes people from you. I've had multiple of my best friends and or boyfriends die of an overdose. I've had family members die. And I've always thought, for some reason, like, why them and not me?
Yeah.
Like, why am I here today able to share this story and they're not?
Right.
But it's for some reason, right?
Absolutely. So that's just one of many stories. What kind of drugs were you doing again?
Heroin and fentanyl.
Heroin
I did
and fentanyl.
heroin for the majority of the 7 years and then switched at the very end of my addiction.
Were you ever worried about getting the wrong dose of fentanyl or something that would be just way too strong and overdosing? Anything like that? Or
while I was in my addiction, if anything, I wanted that.
Right. That's what we want, right?
Right.
I
wanted the strongest of whatever you had, and I'm going to be fine.
We want to look over the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And multiple, multiple overdoses, but I would always be Narcan or somebody would save me afterwards. And so I thought, if that happens to me, someone's going to do that and I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. Because at least there's Narcan.
Right.
Yeah. So you're deep into addiction, and then something happens and you have some type of this intervention. What happens? So
at the end of my Astoria, Oregon run, I had a family member pass away from a fentanyl drug overdose, and my entire family was going to fly to Fresno, California to attend it. And I got asked if I would attend, and I was using, and I didn't know if I was going to go, how I was going to make it, if I even wanted to go, or if I even cared to go.
Right.
And my family wanted me to go, and so I figured out, or my way of figuring out a way to go was I stopped using needles and heroin, and I switched from smoking fentanyl because I thought that would be better to take on the plane than needles in a spoon.
Genius idea.
That's what that's what I thought. And so that's when I switched to heroin, and I went to the funeral, and I went there really messed up. And fortunately for me, my entire family is in recovery, and for my whole life I've been surrounded by recovery and addiction, and so they knew exactly what I was doing.
They knew what you were going through.
They knew, and I thought I was hiding it, right? I thought I was going to go down there, and it was going to be fine, and I was going to come back and continue to do my thing.
So you come to Fresno for a funeral, and so your cousin. So you have multiple cousins that have
all
used.
of them, every single one of
Everyone.
them, everyone.
And so you come back, and you end up having an intervention with your family.
After the funeral, I come back to my aunt's house, and I think it's all going to be, we're fine.
Yeah.
We're just going to sit and talk as a family.
Yeah.
And it ended up being an
Born together.
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly. And it ended up being an intervention for me, and basically mourning my life if I didn't get my stuff together.
And how did that go? What was that like? Did you take it well? Were people angry? I mean, you guys were just
right.
just having a funeral for your cousin.
Yeah.
And how old was your cousin at the time?
I'm not. I don't remember how old he was. Do
Okay.
you remember how old Josh was?
Late 20s, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So so you have this intervention, and yeah, how did that go? What was that like?
It was something that I wasn't expecting. It was my family following me outside, and a lot of them crying and begging me to get the help that I
And you could see where they're coming from.
I need. Absolutely, we just got back
done.
from a
Funeral.
funeral, and then this is what I'm doing, right? And it was them begging me to go, and I agreed to go.
Yeah.
It's not like I would never not accept help if it was offered to me, but I would always kind of want to go on my terms.
Right.
But I would never say no to it. And so what I told them was I would go, but I needed to go back home first. I needed to go back home. What I told them was I needed to go back home and quit my job and move out of my apartment.
Which it was just another excuse.
Which is I needed to go back and
you
get more
needed some
drugs
time
because
to think
I
about
had
it, get loaded.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so, but that's what I did. I went home for a couple of days. I bought what I needed to buy. I got super high. I packed my stuff out of my apartment, moved out of my apartment, and then flew down I went to Orange County to an all-women's inpatient for detox and rehab for 30 days.
And how was that?
When I was there, it was amazing. When I was there, I felt like I did put in the work that I needed to, but
And did they have the medication to help you? Was it comfortable or was it not comfortable?
my detox was probably the most miserable detox I've ever experienced in my life. The drugs I was coming off of heroin, fentanyl, morphine, Xanax, and methadone.
Yeah.
And so in order to come off of those things, they have to treat one thing before the other.
Yeah.
And so I was miserable, and I wanted to kill myself when I was in there.
Yeah, looking back now, I call that good pain and suffering. Because, now.
Today,
but going
yes.
through it. But, because that kind of helps mold us.
Right,
it
does.
We have that in the back of our head, knowing what we're getting into.
Yeah.
If we have to go through that again.
Yeah.
Okay, so you leave down south, and then you end up here in Fresno.
Yes, I end up in my time recovery. I end up in my time recovery. One of my best friends and cousins has connections to the recovery world out here, and she sent me to my time on a scholarship.
Yeah, I would say my time, Touchstone, some of the facilities here in Fresno
Yes.
are amazing.
They change people's lives.
They change people's lives. So what happens? You get to my time.
I get to my time.
And you were there for how long?
I was there for about nine and a half months.
Okay.
And I did the whole thing. I did IOP, PHP, all of the groups, 8 hours a day, did sober living. I became a sober living house manager. I did everything that they asked me to. And
so you were
and
thriving.
More. Right.
Doing great. You were buying into the program.
Yeah.
But something also happened at my time. You met one of your best friends.
Yeah, I met my best friend, Roxanne.
A lunatic.
Yeah.
But you met her, and she kind of has the same story in the sense of, her connections and your connections to getting to my time.
Right. It's for some reason, this little mapping that we got going on here. One of her ex relationships was best friends with one of my cousin's family members.
Somebody here that ran the recovery.
And so that person of Roxanne was able to have that connection and then also send Roxanne to my time on a scholarship, which is where we met.
Which is where you met.
And
you two have been connected at the hip.
From
day one.
From day one, I remember walking into group, and she was the first person that talked to me, and she asked me like a really personal question, if this had happened to me, and she said, okay, me too. And then from then we have not left each other's side, like to the point where my time tried to separate us.
Well, you guys are nuts.
They told us we were too codependent on each other. They moved us sober livings.
Yeah,
they did it all. But that is
and what is
best friend.
Your friend? What if you could? How great is your friendship with her?
I've always had male friends. I get along better with guys because I think drama in women are ridiculous. I've always had like one one girl best friend and most guys, and I've never really liked my other ones, but meeting Roxanne and her being the person that she is and just everything that we've been through.
You guys have been through a lot.
Oh my God, that's my person.
Yeah, that's your ride or die.
Mm-hmm.
It's your day one. So you meet Roxanne, and you guys are connected at the hip, and then you guys talk about some of the meetings that you started going to outside of My Time. Like, I know they have a phenomenal program over there, but what are some of the meetings in terms of like, meetings outside that you started to find your community and find other people?
My Time, they would take us to a lot of meetings, Bethany Church, Fresno Fellowship, and then once HA started being a thing, that's where we went, and that's where I found or started to find my community and the people that I felt like I fit in with most.
Now, let's talk about community real quick. How important to you is community?
Community is like 90% of the reason why I'm sitting up here today.
Yeah.
It is, absolutely.
So you started to find your community with Roxanne at My Time,
Yeah.
The people at My Time, and then now you're starting to find a little bit more community in Heroin Anonymous, right? HA
Right.
meetings.
And I think like a huge thing, at least a huge thing for me was when I started to do drugs and alcohol, and I surrounded myself with those type of people, not feeling like I fit in my whole life. In middle school or in high school, when I found people who did drugs like I did, I felt like I'd finally found my crowd. Right. Like I could sit there and I could do what I do, and you would accept me. You didn't care. You did it with me. You would help me do it.
Right.
And so finding the sense of drugs and community in a different aspect where I'm sober and I love myself and I love these people is something that I struggled to find all throughout these 7 years of trying to get sober.
Right.
But today I have that.
Today you have it.
Today I have that.
So you're thriving, you're sober, you're enjoying life, and I would say, it was just under a year?
It was when we moved out.
You and Roxanne decide we know everything.
Well, because they tried to separate us and we knew everything.
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, we're going to go get our own apartment.
We're going to go get our own apartment. So you guys decide to go get your own apartment.
That was, I had like 9 months.
Okay.
She had like 10.
So you, less than a year.
Less
Just a
than
little
a
less
year.
than a year.
Less than a
So
year.
you guys decide to get an apartment, and everything is going great. You guys are still going to meetings, but maybe not as much.
Yeah, when we first moved out, sure. We were still going to meetings and we were kind of staying connected. But Roxanne and I lasted about 2.5 months in that apartment until things hit the fan again.
Okay, so let's get to that hitting the fan. You stop going to meetings. You're not really going to alumni meetings at My Time like you probably
No.
should be. You're disconnecting from what you call community, from people that you should be talking to on a normal day, everyday basis. And now something happens where, like you said, it gets a little chaotic again. What happens?
So Roxanne and I, like you said, we stopped going to meetings. We stopped being connected. I think for me, it was because I thought I didn't need that anymore. Yeah. I thought that
you got it on your own.
Because I was in a place for 9.5 months and I had all this sobriety, that I didn't need what I knew that I need. And I've known that because I've been in and out of this.
You've seen it.
For the last like 7 years, I've been trying to get sober, so I know exactly what I need and what I don't need.
But our self-centeredness catches up.
Right, and when I tell myself that, I'm not kidding you, I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Absolutely.
But so we stopped going to meetings, we stopped talking to anybody that we met or knew or best friends, and we started getting into relationships with people that we shouldn't have. People that were living the old lifestyle.
Give us an example of the type of people you were hanging out with.
People who were selling cocaine and handling guns. And we were stashing them in our apartment while we were clean and sober.
Yeah. We're going back into chaos.
Absolutely, because I'm addicted to it.
Because you're addicted to chaos. So now we are starting to find ourselves in chaos. Now have we relapsed yet? Or are we dabbling? What's going on?
So when we started hanging around those people, she was dating somebody and I was dating somebody, and we ended up going through breakups for the first time in sobriety.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
at the same
Now
time.
you're starting to have to deal with real life
Feelings and emotions that I
fears,
don't want to
doubts.
deal with.
Yep.
They're uncomfortable. I hate
Yeah.
it. Get it away from me.
But we're having to do it sober now.
Right.
For the first time.
Right. And so those feelings being so uncomfortable, for me, because I didn't like the way that I felt, I didn't enjoy what I was going through at that moment in time. And so my first thought was to get high.
Right.
And I was with two of my best friends at the time, which were Cameron and Roxanne. And I remember we were driving in his truck, and I was sitting up front, and I looked back at Roxanne, and I'm like, I'm going to get high today. Oh. And I'm going to get high whether you want to get high or whether you want to get high, Cameron, but I'm going to do it, and you guys can either do it with me or you can watch me do it, but it's happening.
But it's happening.
I didn't give them a choice or myself a choice.
Complete impulse, right? We are just,
Absolutely.
It's like you see that thing you're shopping at Target or online, and you're like, I'm buying it regardless. I don't care.
And then you buy it and you regret it.
And you regret it. Yeah, buyer's remorse, right? So now, looking back, that decision that you're going to do it regardless, why do you think that came to be? What was it? Was it just that impulse? You had it in your mind?
I think it was because it's what I have been used to. It's the lifestyle that I've been accustomed to.
It was the easiest thing to run
It was the easiest way. And also, now looking back at it, I think I was scared of being sober and having to get a job and live in life and be happy, because that was so weird and foreign.
Right.
And I didn't know any of that.
We didn't
but
have
I knew
enough
this
practice
other
at that either, right? I mean, we'd only been sober for 9 months.
I don't know any of that yet, really.
Yeah, we haven't
but I
been through
know.
it. But you know this.
I know the other lifestyle.
Right, and we know how to deal with
and
that.
I'm good at it.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that.
Right.
And so that's what we did. All of us ended up getting high. We all ended up using. The first night that we were at the apartment and we used together, we all had like a little sit down, and we were like, we're going to do this one time, right?
This one time, everybody.
We're going to do it one time, and then tomorrow we're done, and we're going to tell nobody, and we're still going to walk into those rooms, and we're going to tell everyone we still have the same sobriety date. No one's going to know, and we're going to be fine.
And we're only going to do it this one time.
This one time.
Yeah.
It's always this one time.
Just one time. Just one
or
drink.
Or I'll get clean tomorrow.
One hit.
Just one more.
Yeah. Okay. And let's let everyone know. How did that work out?
Oh, so the first night we relapsed. The morning after, when we said we were all going to be done using, right? Cameron had left to go and bring me and Roxanne coffees, and he came back and he brought us coffees, and then he went into the bathroom, and about 10 minutes later, Roxanne and I hear this huge thud. And if you're a drug addict or a heroin addict, you know exactly what that means. And so Roxanne and I rushed out of our rooms, and Cameron was black and blue. He just smacked his face on the counter. There was blood everywhere. He was not breathing. I was getting cold water, splashing him, hitting him as hard as I could. Roxanne's calling 911. We have to hide the drugs that we have. There's rigs in the bathroom or needles. There's dope. There's a spoon. We don't know what to do. It was fucking chaos. It was chaos. Yeah. And the ambulance ended up coming. They took him out. I was freaking out. I don't even know how none of my neighbors came out and wondered what was going on, because I was screaming so loud. And they took him, and that time he was okay. That time he came back to the apartment, and we hugged it out, and we cried, and he promised me he was never going to do that again.
Cameron. How beautiful of a person is Cameron.
He's amazing.
Amazing. That smile, right? Yeah. And you guys were pretty close.
Yeah, Cameron. So Cameron and Roxanne, from when I first got into my time, we were all pretty close.
Yeah.
We stayed pretty close for the whole time we were in there. He was my best friend, and then up until this time, him and I started. He would always he always tried to date me, but I never let him, because he was a good guy, and I was scared of that. But before we had relapsed, we were together.
Yeah. So Cameron sneaks off to the bathroom. Obviously, he has stuff, and now he's slamming the dope. He overdoses. Ambulance comes real quick. What was that moment of just freaked out. We have dope on us. We have a guy who just OD'd in our bathroom.
Right.
What is going through your head in terms of, okay, well, we said we were just going to do this once, but now it's turned into a disaster.
The only thing that I could think of was, oh God, that Cameron's dead and it's my fault.
And it's not. So Cameron, he everything ends up being okay, right? He promises you he's done doing it.
Yeah.
And then are you guys, I mean, are we still dabbling in it?
So for the next like couple of weeks, since we were all best friends and we promised we were never going to do it, we were all kind of low key using behind each other's backs. Yeah. Like Roxanne would ask Cameron for some, or I would ask Cameron for some, and Cameron wouldn't be telling. It was shady.
Back to old ways, right?
Right, because we didn't want people that, yeah, it was shady, and we were lying, and
now it's
we were all kind of
using,
right,
and it's all coming back, right?
Yeah, and so I think Roxanne and I had stopped for like a couple of days because we had been like, okay, this is getting out of control. Yeah. Like, let's try to reel it back in, and then Cameron was apparently still using. Yeah. He was in a sober living house, and Roxanne was sleeping in her room, and I was sleeping on the couch. I felt like shit. Yeah. Not really detoxing, but my body is just tired from what I was doing.
Absolutely.
And so I'm trying just to rest, and I wake up because my phone's ringing, and it's Cameron's mom. And she's like, do you know why the hospital just called me and why Cameron is on his way there right now? And I said, I have no idea. Cameron and I have dinner plans in 2 hours. Yeah. And I told him I was taking a nap and I was going to call him when I'm done. So I said, I have no idea. Let me try to call him and figure it out. He didn't answer my phone call. And it was like this back and forth thing where it was like, if I know, I'll let you know. And it's, we were going to let each other know. And it had been like maybe 15, 25 minutes, and I get a phone call, but she didn't mean to call me. And, oh God. It was her voice and the doctor's voice. And he was telling her that her son is no longer here. And she was just crying. And that's how I found out. And so after finding that out and already thinking it's my fault, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know any other thing to do than to use and get high.
Right.
I didn't want to feel whatever was going on here.
Right.
And so the thing that I know that's going to take that away from me is now currently heroin and fentanyl.
Because that's all we know.
And I'm going to use it.
And you're going to use it.
Because I was not okay.
Yes. Yeah. Ay. Okay, so now you hear that conversation. This pain that you're feeling in your heart.
Yeah.
At this point now, you and Roxanne are just on a full bender.
Oh my, yeah.
You're stealing from one another.
That's when we ended up hating each other, because when I'm using, I don't care who you are. Yeah. I mean, maybe I do, but if you have something that I need or that I want, I'm going to take it from you. And so I robbed Roxanne every day for like 2 months.
Yeah.
I would go in her room and I would steal whatever she had. I'd talk to her like she meant nothing to me.
Right.
It got so bad to where I would be home because I was not working. I decided to stop going to work because I couldn't, and Roxanne was able to maintain her job, and so I would be home and she would come home from work and we wouldn't even look at each other or speak.
Drugs trick us into thinking that it knows what's best for us, or
right.
that, it knows what we need, when really it's killing us.
Yeah.
And that's what was going on.
Yeah.
You had the drugs that you were just full-blown into, and you, like you said, now you're going back to the old.
It got
back to.
We had to drive to Kalinga because that's where our plug was. I was driving down there and I was trading guns that I had for drugs. We were lying to everybody. I remember we would lie. People from the rooms like you would hit us up and ask us how we were doing, and we thought we were hiding it from everybody.
We knew.
Everybody always knows.
I knew Cameron was using.
Everybody always knows.
I knew that you guys were in a bad place, and I remember when Cameron had passed. I just remember, I was brokenhearted for you and Roxanne, because I know what wonderful souls you are and how valuable you are to one another, how valuable you are to the community. And I just remember thinking, I was just hurting, really, really hurting. And
we even went to Cameron's celebration of life at HA and his other celebration of life at the church. We went there super high. We even met our plug there and got drugs at his funeral.
Because that's how deep you were into the addiction.
Right.
And when it gets to that low, like you said earlier, we will do whatever it takes. We'll lie to whoever we want. We will do the drugs. I remember just being in parking lots in my work van, getting high, and I didn't even care who drove by. I didn't care who saw me.
No, you don't care.
You don't think about any of that.
No, you're only worried about yourself.
You're just worried about ourselves.
Yeah.
That's how selfish we are.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you guys are fully into it. What happens? You reached out to your mom reached out to you, and now, because you had a phenomenal relationship with your family, your mom, and you're getting sober at not my time, but everyone knows you guys are now in a bad place.
Yeah.
So how does it come to be that you guys talk to each other?
So me and Roxanne?
You and your mom.
Me and my mom.
Because you and Roxanne aren't talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're stealing from one another. But now, like, getting to the next step here.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it's bad.
Yeah.
Mom knows it's bad.
So mom didn't, I don't think mom knew. Maybe mom had an idea, but mom didn't know for sure. And I remember calling her because she was coming down to see me. Mm-hmm. And I remember calling her one night, and I was like, there's something I need to tell you. And she's like, what is it? I said, I don't want to tell you right now. I'll wake up tomorrow and tell you. And I called her the next day, and I was like, Mom, I'd been using. Because for maybe the last 3-4 years of my addiction, my mom and I had been able to maintain a relationship regardless if I was using or not. Right. Regardless if I was okay or if I wasn't, there was always communication there. There was always love. I was always accepted at her house regardless.
That goodness.
Right, because I felt like I was able to be honest with her, and she was accepting of that.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I called my mom, and I told her I was using again for I don't even know how many.
How broken were you when you had that talk? For you to call your mom, and after all the things that had just recently happened, because I think it takes a lot of courage to make that call.
Yeah.
I take it's a lot of courage to have that conversation, because you're making a choice now at that point, right?
Yeah.
We're sick and tired of being sick and tired. We're so broken. We know it's either get busy living or get busy dying, and you made that choice.
Looking back at it now, I believe that I called her because I wanted her to tell my other family members, and then somehow a plan come, and I'm able to get out of this again.
And how real was it this time? Like, how real in terms of this is what I want?
It was
compared to all the other times.
Right. Every other time I went to rehab or I got clean, I always wanted to want it so bad.
Right.
Like, I would see people in the rooms or people getting clean, and they would share and they would talk, and they seemed like they were so happy and they wanted to do this for themselves. And I've always wanted that for myself. And it wasn't until this time when I called my mom that I had finally been like, okay, I'm using and I need help now.
I need help.
And I knew how to get myself out of it, but I didn't know how to get myself out of it.
So fortunately, you were able to get the help. You get the help. You end up going to NorCal, right? San Francisco area, San Jose?
Yes, and I just went to a detox.
Okay, and now before you go to this detox, you and Roxanne are...
Oh, we're still not talking.
You're miserable.
Like,
you
we're
can't stand her.
like blocked on social media.
Yeah.
I don't even text her
and
anymore.
you guys are roommates, best friends.
Right.
So you end up going up north. She's staying in town.
She's staying at the apartment still
right?
using.
Yeah, still using. So you go, you check into a facility, you get clean for, I think you were there for 10 days, I think?
Yeah,
9
about,
or 10 days?
yeah.
And then you decide you're going to come back. You kind of, you're a little hesitant if this is what you really want or not. You have one little small hiccup, but ultimately you decide you want to make changes in your life.
Yeah.
And you start to make these changes. How did you, talk about that real quick. What were those changes and how that, what made this time different?
I think that when I first came back from the detox, I was wanting to change, but I still had these old habits or things that I was so used to doing and behavioral issues that I had for so long, and so they just come out naturally. And being able to recognize those things and then want to change them.
Yes.
Want to be like, okay, that was wrong of me, and I want to do something better.
You want to grow.
Yeah, I want to learn how to grow.
Yeah.
I want to know how to be able to grow and then continue to do that for myself.
To do what it takes to have a healthy growth.
Right. Put in the work to get to where I want to be, because I'm selfish and I want to get there, but I don't want to put in any work.
And what is that you wanted to be? A healthy life, like other people, or just
if I would have like made a list when I was in detox of the things that I wanted in a year, the things that I wanted for myself in a year, I would say I want to be happy. I want to talk to Roxanne.
Yeah.
And I want to, they were so simple. Like, I would want a job, I want a house or an apartment.
Just a roof over our head.
Just these simple little things. But I wanted to be able to enjoy them.
Right.
And be grateful that I have those things.
Right.
Which I've never been able to do before.
Now, how heartbroken were you now that you are starting this journey of sobriety again, but your best friend's not with you?
It was like I had been...
Because she's using.
I know she's using, but when I was in... No, it wasn't when... It was when she was in detox that she finally messaged me. But not having her was like I was in a relationship for the last 25 years with her, and then now I don't have her. And so my only thought was, is she okay?
Is she okay?
Yeah.
And she ended up being okay. She ended up checking into a detox.
She ended up checking
a couple of weeks later.
No, she checked into detox the same day I did, and that's why her and I had the same sobriety date.
Got it. That's right.
And I didn't even know.
I
had no idea. And while she was in detox, I was out of detox in a sober living house, and I got a little text message on my phone, and it was I think it was Facebook Messenger, and it was Roxanne, and she's like, "Are you okay?"
Oh.
And I was like, "Everything's gonna be fine."
Yeah, but it was something that you needed to hear, something you needed to see.
Yeah, well, because the girl that I had been messing around with was in detox with Roxanne.
Yeah.
And so she was able to tell Roxanne where I was,
which
is just, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
The little things that,
bring us all
it's
together.
crazy, yeah.
Right. Okay, so you guys decide to now walk this journey together. You guys are going to move back into your apartment together.
Which everyone told me not to.
Everyone told you not to. I remember.
When we relapsed, everyone was like,
"Hey,
we told you.
You know what they're doing? What do you think? You know what they're doing?" And you decide to move.
When I called my mom and told her, she's like, "I knew this was happening." She's like, "I knew this was going to happen."
Yeah.
I was like, "It is."
I think everyone kind of knew that.
It is happening.
And, you guys have to make the decisions that are best for you. We can, people like your mom, me, other people around you, we can give you the suggestions.
Right.
And you have to be willing to take those suggestions, which you obviously are. But ultimately, this is your life. This is your journey.
Yeah.
And so
But for me and my happiness, that was the right choice.
Right, absolutely.
That was the right choice for me.
We move out of the house, we move back into the house. We go, right? Yeah, lots of moving. You know, that's what 21 Pathways should be, a moving company. So anyways, you guys move back in there, and you guys really start to like put in the work, right? You are now like, okay, you know, I remember you started you were a secretary of meetings.
Yeah, we're going to morning maintenance.
Morning maintenance. We're having coffee. We're going at 6:30 to Sierra Fellowship.
Yeah.
We are starting
sending grateful lists every single morning.
Yes, gratitude lists. Talk about gratitude lists and how important just that positive affirmation in the morning, what it means to you, and how it's helped you in your sobriety.
So when I first started doing them, they were just like kind of bullshit to me.
Yeah.
Like I would write down things that I truly was grateful for, but there was never like thought behind it.
No, it's just get it
done. It was just Yeah. It was like a to-do list. Like, okay, done, sent, whatever. And throughout the last 17 months, sending that grateful list every morning has taught me how to be grateful for everything. Like that little list of like, I'm grateful for my vape. I'm grateful for my mom. I'm grateful to wake up sober. Has led me to actually believe those things.
Yes.
And now I'm able to be grateful for sitting up here and talking and sharing with you, who I sent those grateful to lists every single morning, and we still do. And we 16 months later, every single day. Every single day.
And now my youngest daughter sends gratitude lists.
Mm-hmm. She's the best. I love her.
And that's what an impact she's having on people, right? This just the small things that she talked about earlier. So you're doing gratitude lists, you're going to meetings, and you're starting to take it a little bit more serious this time around, because I think something deep down inside is telling you, I want something better, right? So let's talk about this journey. What are some of the things that you've learned over the last 16 months that are important to you?
Well, I think that, like the two things that I think are most important to me is being able to be grateful, and then surrounding yourself with people who you want to be around, who help you be a better person, who are like living life in an attractive way that you want to be around. Community is so important to me.
Let's talk about it. Like what community in terms of like meetings, just friends, family. You know, I've watched you grow your community from just gratitude lists. You just spoke at my time the other day, and now people are asking you to be a sponsor. People are wanting to do work with you. You went up to Muirwood, and you're talking to these adolescents that are struggling, but you're making these connections. And one of the things that I've always appreciated about you, especially the last 16 months, is you have this ability to build bridges. So not just have this relationship, but build a relationship with people. And now that you can do it sober, how has that changed your life?
So I think that in every relationship that I've tried to build before in the past, it was always because I wanted something from you.
Right.
Like you had something that I needed or wanted, and I'm going to be your friend because I'm going to get it, and then I'm going to not talk to you anymore probably. But today I build relationships with the people that I have in my life because I genuinely care about you.
You do.
And community is like, sure, like it can be meetings, it can be sharing at Muirwood, it can be sharing at my time, and I get to do those things, and instead of doing it for myself today, I do it for everybody else in the room. Because I want to give them what I have.
Yes.
Because what I have is so good.
It's the gift.
It's so good.
It's such a beautiful gift. And not only is it a beautiful gift, but you get to show people like me, my wife, my kids, my friends, how to unwrap that gift.
Right.
Every day you're teaching us something that it's not just a gift, but it's how we grow and how we can unwrap it. That's kind of like the best part.
Being grateful. You've always heard like time heals all wounds, right?
Right.
And until these last 16 months, for me, I've learned that being grateful does.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's. I used to think the same thing. Time healed all wounds, but it's unconditional love. It's forgiveness.
It is.
And it's definitely gratitude. Speaking of forgiveness, how big of the term forgiveness, how has forgiveness been a part of your recovery?
Forgiveness, as in, like people forgiving me or me forget both?
Either way.
Okay. Like, so when I'm like, it's crazy the way that I think and the way that I like do life today because it's so different. Today, no matter what somebody does to me, like it could be anything, and like it could be anything. It could be bad, it could be good, it could make me angry, it can make me sad. But like no matter what, it's like I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because I know that I can't control and I can't do anything about it on their side. All I can do is control what I do, how I react, and I can't control my emotions, right? My emotions are who I am and what I feel, but I can control how I react to a situation.
Well said, yes. You have taught me, your amazing daughter has taught me that, we have a problem with self-control, right? And I have learned through Danielle that in order for me to have control, self-control, that is done through forgiveness. If I have forgiveness and if I can let go, then I have control of that chaos. Now things can become manageable. And, I see how you handle situations, and I see how it just gets to the point where, we can't control what other people are doing and what they're saying, but we can control our own actions,
right.
Our own words.
Right.
So you are now, we've seen forgiveness, we've seen, gratitude. We have all these amazing things. What is it now? You've shown responsibility, accountability. You are completely turning the page. If it's anything that you could do moving forward now, like where do you see Danielle 2 years from now?
See, oh God, I don't even
think like that.
I don't even think like that.
I know you don't.
I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I remember walking into AA or NA rooms, right, and always seeing this stupid little sign that always pissed me off. It was take it one day at a time. And I was like, well, what else are you supposed to do?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, obviously you have to do that. But that's exactly how I live my life today.
And I think it's great. I think the more we start to think about the future, that's when we create the anxiety.
Absolutely.
And when we start to think of the past,
yeah.
That's when it creates the depression.
Yeah.
So if we just stay in the moment,
yeah.
Right? That's, if we could
it's
just
also
stay in the moment, stay in the now.
Kind of gaining back a little bit of control.
Absolutely.
Not having to think about what I'm going to do in the future.
Yeah.
All I have is this minute and hopefully the next.
Right.
And so for whatever I'm doing right now, I'm going to try to live it to the best of my ability and do the next right thing.
Beautiful. If you could, there's a lot of people watching and listening to you. They love your story. If you could spread the word with the newcomer, somebody who has 30 days or less in sobriety, somebody who's really going through it, what would the advice be?
You hear it all the time, and I used to hear it all the time, and I still do hear it all the time, but it's just keep coming back. It is, man, because if you keep coming back, eventually, hopefully, you'll be able to figure it out. You'll be able to learn things that you've never learned before. You'll be able to live a life that you never have and that you've always wanted if you just keep coming back. And it doesn't have to be a specific meeting or a place or whatever works for you, works for you. And if you find people that you like in a place you like to go, then go there and find your recovery.
Because that's where the community's at, right?
Absolutely.
That's where you're
and
gonna
it
find
doesn't
your
matter
peeps.
what this person is saying or that. Also, don't worry about what anybody else got going on or what they have to say.
Yeah.
Do what makes you happy, regardless of anybody or anything else.
If it's something in terms of, just people looking for support, maybe it's not addiction, maybe it's support, somebody who's just broken, what kind of advice would it be? What kind of advice would you give them? Taking the addiction, just making it something like just broken.
That if you if you want to do something different and you don't want to feel the way that you're feeling, then you have to do something different. And then for me, when I was feeling like that, and then what I feel like today, that road of getting to the better was what was hard, was what was the miserable part of the feelings and the emotions and all the things that I didn't want to go through and have to deal with. That's what stopped me from always going back to being miserable, because I didn't want to deal with any of that. Right. And so if you just deal with it and you work through it and you're surrounded by people who love you, and then eventually you get to this point where you want to be, you'll be so proud of yourself.
Right. Are you proud of yourself? Yeah. I'm proud of you. So proud. Sometimes God sends you on a journey that you didn't think you wanted, only to give you everything you ever needed.
Oh, I said it wrong.
Everything you ever needed. Has recovery given you what you wanted? Are you happy?
I was always like wanting materialistic things. You know, like when I got clean, I'd always want like, oh, I want this house and I want this car and I want these clothes and I want all of these things. But like the way that I've lived my life today has brought me happiness. And it's so cool.
It's pretty cool.
It is. It's like the most amazing thing ever. It's so cool.
You're pretty cool.
You're cool.
No, you're cool. So I would have to say that you are one of the most special people in the world. And I am so grateful that you have become part of me and my family's life. And I'm so grateful that I am able to learn from someone like you. I learned so much from you. And you have taught me.
I learned from you. Oh my God. Are you kidding?
I have learned so much from you. And I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for you. So I just wanted to say thank you so very much. I love you a lot. And you can always count on me.
I know I can, and I love you. And you're a huge reason as to why I'm sitting up here right now.
Well, we're doing it together.
Absolutely. That's the best part.
That's the best part. Is there anything else you want to say to anybody out there? You know, anything, any note you want to drop?
I don't know. I just want to express how cool it is that I have my mom and my little brother here. It's so cool.
How cool is that? That we get to do this.
That they want to come down and see me and spend time with me.
Right?
It's so cool.
I love you, honey. I'm so proud of you.
So proud. So proud. Is there anything, Danny, you want to drop? You want to say anything?
Very proud of you.
So proud.
I love you.
How long, how cool is healthy Danielle? Amazing. You know? Right? I love healthy Danielle. You know, just happy and just this free spirit and just able to accomplish anything that she wants to accomplish. I've watched her put her mind on things and things that she wants to do, like little small goals. And, you know, it's we say it all the time, it's something that we have to practice, but it's something that she wants to practice.
Because we get to.
Because I
get to do all of these things
You get to live
today.
life and practice, dribbling with the left hand, the right hand, whether it's patience.
And having that mindset on life of being grateful and like thinking, I get to do this.
You get to do this.
Instead of being like, oh God, I have to do this.
But you get to.
That's changed everything for me. It has.
What is the coolest thing about 21 Pathways that you can think of?
Oh my gosh, so many. My absolute favorite thing is that it doesn't matter where you come from, who you are, what your beliefs are. Everybody can sit in this room and hear you speak and hear you share. And everybody, when we're in this room, we're all one.
We welcome all crowds.
We're one, and you're welcomed. And
we roll out the red carpet.
Oh my God,
everyone.
it's amazing.
Do you have one service out there that you could see yourself doing forever?
Just going into like institutions in rehabs and mental health facilities, and just sitting up there and talking to them and just relating to them and making them feel like it's comfortable. And sharing my story and letting whoever is there know that there's maybe hope and they can do it too.
And I think the one thing that you've learned is it's helping you find your purpose.
Yeah.
You're starting to put that together.
That's it. That's, and I always thought like finding your why had to be like this huge, massive thing, you know, like I had to be some rich billionaire with everything I've ever wanted, you know, like what was my why? And I think it's just making people smile and have a good time. That's it.
Because it helps you find yours.
Absolutely.
So service works.
Yeah. Yeah. It's simple.
It's simple.
But
it's
it
part
works
of the
for me.
solution.
Yep.
It's part of your solution.
It is.
Giving back.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much. I love you to death.
Thank you, Brian.
And
God.